Hello students, welcome to my 14th video. You all must be remembering we had started this lesson, A Ship on Fire at Sea, in our last video. So here we are going to continue with the story which we had left half the way. And before that, let us have a short recap. We know that the story is about a sea adventure where there are two ships sailing on a sea, and in one of the ships the narrator, her brother and her uncle with other people are sailing, and there is another ship on the sea which was burning, had caught fire, and these people from the other ship were watching it helplessly. So we had done that, and she had all described the scene very vividly, very clearly about the kind of fire that had caught that fish, and all that she has described here. We had left till there. Now let us move with the next part of it. Before that, I'll give a reading from here. The black water took in and quenched all that blazing top hamper, and still the awful hissing was audible, till suddenly there was a thunderous roll, and she plunged head foremost and went down blazing into the desolate sea. So we see here that the last moments of the ship, how it got submerged into the water, into the sea, is described here. That is the ending of the ship. Before that, the water is described here as black because of the snow, because of the smoke surrounding the ship, and we know that is because of the fire and that took in and quench all the blazing top hamper. And hamper here means, hamper is a big basket, a very big basket. Here the ship is being described as a big basket. Blazing means caught with fire, a big basket caught with fire. This is the comparison made here. And still the awful hissing was audible. Awful hissing means that terrible sound of the fire was audible. Audible means something they were able to hear. Till suddenly there was a thunderous roll, and she plunged head foremost and went down blazing into the desolate sea. And then there was a thunderous, a loud noise, a loud sound, and finally from her front part, the she here is the ship, the burning ship. From that the front part of it, that is the head, she went down, got submerged into the desolate sea. Desolate means a vacant, a lonely sea. In one instant, that raging glow and all the fire's illumination of the fire were gone. Darkness had settled on the face of the deep. Means because of the fire, that place was lighted up. There was light everywhere because of that huge fire on the ship. But as the ship got submerged into the sea, darkness had spread in that place, on the face of the deep. On the face of the deep, deep here is the sea. Oh, the misery of the next half hour. Misery of the next half hour means it would take half an hour for the boat to reach the bed of the sea. So that is the misery part of for the boat. The boats, when that ill-fated ship went down, must I knew have been very near her. Now which boat she is talking about? The two boats which had gone to help the passengers on that ill-fated ship. Ill-fated means that unlucky, unfortunate ship went down. Must I know, I have been very near her. Had they been sucked in, now she has started worrying about those boats. Two boats, in one of them her brother had also gone to help the passengers. So she was worried now, what might have happened to those boats. Had they been overturned, or had they been so blessed as to be saved, and to save some of the wretched passengers and crew. Wretched means the unlucky passengers and the crew. These unlucky passengers, she is talking about the ones who might be there on that burning ship, and the crew. Crew means the group of people. Of all persons in the yacht, then perhaps I suffered most. Why is she suffering most? Because I was the most ignorant. I had no one to speak to. She could not speak to anybody. Ignorant means she could not talk about the thing that was disturbing her with anybody there. There was no one to talk to her. There were other people, but her brother whom she would have talked about it was not there. And another one, Mrs. Brandt, who was the wife of the steward. Steward means the officer in charge of the ship. She also had retreated. Retreated means left that place, had gone to some other part of the ship, and I could not think of addressing my uncle. He had plenty on his mind and on his hands. This uncle, she could not ask anything because already the uncle was occupied with lot of thoughts in his mind, and on his hands means he might be having things on his hands as well. So she was now in a state anxious and very much worried for the brother and the two boats. So she could not make out whom to talk to, how to find about them. So let us see what she does. At last, Bran, standing near me again, I said, "Oh, Bran, cannot we go nearer the place where that ship sunk?" Now she asks this thing from the steward, Mr. Brand. "Ma'am," he replied, "we are sailing now as nigh as may be over the very spot where she went down. But you have no call to be frightened. Everything has been done that can be done. We hove to directly we sighted her." Now he tells her that we are sailing as near. Nigh is the old use of the word near. We are as near as we can be. Means they are just near that spot where that ship had sunk. "Yes," I said, "but what good could that do?" Means she's asking, what good being near to that spot where the ship sunk, what good that could do? "Why, ma'am," he replied, we could not have lowered the boats without that. Means unless we had come near to that spot, we could not lower the boats, the helping boats. And then, you know, when they were off, we filled and stood in as nigh as we dared. So they had to be near that spot where the ship had sunk, because those boats would come back again. Those two boats would come back. "Then where are the boats?" I inquired. "God knows, ma'am. And what are these lights for? Every one you put up makes it harder to see anything. How are we to find them?" Now she is very much worried and very much anxious to know about the well-being of her brother. So she is asking all these questions from the steward, from Mr. Brand. "We have no call to find them," he replied. "We want them to find us." He says that we cannot do anything. We cannot go and find them. They will have to find us. Who are them? There are two boats. Most likely there are other boats boats from the ship. We want to make ourselves as conspicuous as we can. Conspicuous means visible, near, so that those two boats could easily locate the big ship here. "And why cannot we pick up any of the poor creatures that may have been on board? Surely we could have heard their cries and could now. We are not half a quarter of a mile from her." Now she is also worried about the other passengers of that burning ship, and she's asking why we could not help those creatures. Poor creatures here means those people, the poor people, those unlucky people. Poor means here the unlucky people who may have been on board. On board means on that ship. "No, ma'am, nothing like that distance. Not half that distance." She is expecting that distance that she was from that spot where the ship sunk must be half a quarter of a mile. Half a quarter of a mile means the quarter of a mile and half of that again. So the steward, Mr. Brand, he informs her that not even that, not half that distance, even less than that distance. That means they are very much near to that spot. That's why our people think she may have been deserted. means they are so near that they could easily they might have seen the ship all empty and vacant, and that's why they feel that ship might have been deserted, means at the last moments of its before submerging into the sea, that ship might have been deserted. The people might have left the ship, might have dived into the sea or something, but there was nobody. Deserted means it was all vacant, nobody was there. They were imagining this, the other people of the ship. The steward passed on, and I covered my face with my hands and moaned in the misery of my heart. Oh, my only brother, had I really lost him so? Now this was a difficult time for her, like could not make out what has happened, what might have happened to her brother, and she is imagining the worst here, that has she lost her brother forever? Now that kind of thought will of course tremble her heart. So let us see. I got up again, gazed out over the dark water, and longed for the dawn. Something better than dawn was destined to meet my eyes. Now she got up again. She was all holding her head and was just imagining what the morning will bring to her, and was looking at the dark water and was longing for the dawn. Longed means she was waiting for the sunrise. Dawn means the sunrise. Something better that dawn was destined to meet my eyes. Destined means that was the fortune, the luck that was waiting for her. Between us and a spar that still glowed, two dark objects stood suddenly, a boat and black figures and moving oars, another behind her. So she happens to see that boat, the two boats in the morning, just the light of the sun, just rising sun, and she happened to see those two boats glowing and still glow. Two dark objects stood suddenly, a boat and black figures and moving oars. Black figures means the people on the boat, those who went to help the passengers of that burning ship. Moving oars, oars are those the handles, which are used for moving the boats. Another behind her. I shall never forget with what a thrill of joy I heard our people cheer. In 10 minutes we could hear the stroke of their oars, and directly after Tom was on deck and his crew with him. God bless you, said my uncle to Tom. Anybody saved? One, said Tom. Only one, sir. So all the people on the ship, they just rejoiced, they just cheered when they saw these two boats coming towards them, and everybody got thrilled and everybody got excited seeing them coming back. In 10 minutes we could hear the stroke of their oars, and directly Tom was on the deck with his crew. And uncle also came forward, his the uncle of both the narrator and Tom. Tom is the brother of the narrator, we know that. So he comes forward and asks about the well-being, and he gives him blessings. Then he says, anybody saved? Tom replies, only one. That is, only one person was traveling on that ill-fated, unlucky ship, unfortunate ship. Only one was saved. So they were able to save one life. That is what we see here in this story, the ship on fire at sea, and that is the end. I want you all to read the story nicely and mark the tough words from the lesson and get the meanings of those words and get them written in your book. I'll send you in the assignment as well the same thing, and go through the lesson nicely, twice, thrice. We'll get back to you in the next video with the discussion of question and answer. Till then, take care and God bless you all.